Hey everyone, today we're going to show you how to use pivot tables. And pivot tables are really one of the most useful tools in Excel, especially when you're trying to deep dive data and you have large data sets that you want to easily view data, summaries, snapshots of what's really going on, being able to see trends and whatnot. And so once you learn how to use it, it's very easy and simple to use. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with that today and show you just how easy pivot tables can be. First thing we have here is we have a large data set of dummy data. What we can do a couple things here. We can either take this data we have and hit Control A. That's going to select all of the data we have, and we can go to our Insert tab on up top, and we can click on Pivot Table, and that will give us a pivot table. What I recommend doing first, though, is Control A, which will select all of your data, and then hitting Control T, which will make all of your data into a table. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to hit OK, and you'll see it gives us a formatted table here. And the reason that we want to do that is we want to add data. In a table format, it's much easier to do that or manipulate the data that we have. If it's not in a table, you'll have to go through and re-pull the data. Otherwise, let's say we wanted to add a couple rows of data, we can just hit government, and you'll see that that data is already incorporated into the table. So we'll be able to easily add to the data that we have if we need to do so in the future. So, government, Mexico, maple product, go on and fill out the data, and again, it will just reincorporate into the data we have. We'll just have to refresh. So I'm just going to remove this, hit Control Z there, kind of back out of that. So just, take a look at your data, make sure that it's properly formatted, you don't have any errors in there that could cause you some issues. I see that my date column is in a weird format, so I'm gonna hit Control Shift down arrow. That's gonna select my entire column. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna select a date for that, so it will show our data in date format. So now that we have our data here in a table, again, just gonna hit Control A, and we can do a couple things. We can go to the Insert tab, and again hit pivot table, or if you're new or you want some recommendations on what kind of pivot table you should use in these scenarios, you can hit recommend pivot table. What's great about this is it will give you some different options. So if you were wanting to look at profit by country, we again have all this dummy sales data. You can do that. Sum of units sold by country, you can easily do that, and you can kind of scroll through and look at the different possibilities, some of the different possibilities at least, on what you could do. So if you were wanting to see the product by profit in year, you can easily do that as well to see how the products are trending year over year. But what we're gonna do, we're just gonna hit Control A again, select all of our data, and then we can do Insert Pivot Table. I like the shortcut Alt NV, and that will take us to Insert. It's the same thing essentially. So again, select a table or range. This is the table, we didn't have a chance to name it, so it's just table 9. Otherwise, it would ask you to select data, so you'd be pulling data from a cell, A1 to Z200 or whatever your data might be. And then we're going to put it on a new worksheet, create a whole new worksheet for this. If you wanted to add it to an existing worksheet, you could do that and then go and find a spot to drop it. But we're going to use a new worksheet for our exercise, and we're going to hit OK. So once we see this is the pivot table 10, this is our kind of our framework here to get started with. And first of all, let's say I need to know what our profit by country was. So what I'm going to do is just click on the country and drag it down to rows. And rows is just going to be the criteria on the left side there, and it's going to generate in the rows. And then if I don't care about year, I'm just going to go ahead and look for the value, and that's going to be our profit. I want to know the profit. So I'm going to drag profit down into the values portion, and that's going to generate our, I'm going to change this, that's going to give us the sum of our profit in each of the countries for the entire duration of our data. I'm just going to go home and change that to monetary formatting there, a little easier for me to visualize. So anyways, we can see, what's what countries tend to do the best. And let's say that I actually wanted to know how they were trending year over year. I could click on year and drag that down and drop that into columns. So columns is just essentially, what data you want to populate in the the different column sections here. So we have 2013, 2014. Our totals, we can see that we increased sales by just under 10 million, which is awesome, and we can easily visualize that with pivot tables. But let's say we wanted to get even more granular. What we could do is we could do look at it by month. We could click month, drag that down, and drop that into columns, and that's going to show us our sales on a month by month basis by year. And so again, great for visualizing, how we're doing, how we're selling by country month over month. Let's say, maybe we don't want to get that granular with the month data, but let's say we want to know, okay, we have our country data, but how are each of our products selling within that country? All we have to do is find product, drag that under country, and then it will populate all of the different products by country, so we can easily visualize that as well. So in terms of hierarchy, whatever you drag and drop underneath the other criteria, it's going to populate underneath or expand on that sense. So for example, like we're able to see by country what product is, how it's selling, but let's say we wanted to look at the Aspen product and then how each country breaks down. So it's just the inverse of this. It's the same data, but you can flip that around. So again, now we have all of our products and then the sales by country. So we can see how they're doing and then how they're progressing year over year, which is awesome. Something else that we might want to look at, let's say, we just want to look at our products, how they're doing year over year, or maybe we don't even want to look at year over year, but we want to look and see what our cost of goods sold is, or COGS. So we'll just click on COGS and drag that down under values. So now we can compare, but let's get our gross sales in there as well. We'll want to do gross sales first, then we can do COGS, so it's more of a better flow from like an accounting or finance perspective. So we can see some gross sales, COGS, then we can disseminate the data on where everything is coming out of. Which is very useful. So something else that you should look at when using the pivot table in terms of selecting criteria is you can use the filter section. So if you wanted to search all the data by just one specific country or two countries, you can drop that in. At the top, you'll be able to go and click and show what countries you want to search by, or if it were a product. That way you can get more granular or remove some of the noise that you might get from the larger data sets as you're moving data around, manipulating data, trying to get down to specific details. Again, like with pivot tables, as you can see, it's very easy to get in and manipulate data and dive deep on data that you have. It's super simple. The best way to learn it is just to get in and try things out, drag things around, drop them in different areas to kind of see what kind of data is populated. And so that's what I'd recommend doing if you're just learning pivot tables. Again, you can look at the recommended pivot tables, but overall, pivot table is such an important and valuable tool for Excel users. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any specific questions or would you like me to make any other specific videos, please let me know, drop a comment below, and please remember to subscribe to the Excel Guy. Thanks.